But you still don't want one.
No.
Why on earth wouldn't you want one if they're wonderful to have?
Well, darling, many things are wonderful to have. For instance, we could have a pet boa constrictor.
I have a picture of myself with
I've
a boa
heard
around
that
my neck.
they make wonderful pets.
You got to
you
find
know?
mice. That's the only
You don't
thing.
have to feed them very often.
I know, but when you do, you got to go get a mouse. And I don't mean the kind that does your email. You've got to get a real mouse. Or
I mean, that would be. I'm sure that would be a
rat.
wonderful pet. That doesn't mean I want to own one.
Well, I think a boa would be fun. If we had the facility, I wouldn't mind a big snake. I think they're great, really. I think a kangaroo would be fun.
Darling,
hop around together.
I don't think they.
Hop around town,
They're not tame.
Well, they're taming them in Australia.
No, they're not taming them in Australia. They consider them a big nuisance, I think.
Well, that's why they're exporting them to the States. People in Michigan and Nebraska are getting kangaroos.
Are
but
they?
I'm willing to be old-fashioned and settle for like a dog, a border collie, perhaps. But I like the dogs with the many syllable names that you can't pronounce, that are taken after a certain Wingwa dynasty in China. And they protect us. These little
We
food
had one
dogs.
of those.
I know, he was wonderful.
He was wonderful, except that he bit people,
Well,
or
he
wanted
didn't
to.
really bite
Well,
people.
he tried. He went around growling at little
He
children.
was a Lhasa Apso. We found him in the classifieds in the Reston Times, yes. And he was free. Free to good home. I remember reading that. My heart just went, oh. It just opened up completely. And Colin was really cool, except he had some emotional problems.
He had some severe emotional problems.
Yeah.
The only person he didn't growl at was you.
He loved me. We were buddies.
Right.
And I would take him, I'll never forget the day in Reston when I'm walking down Glade Drive and Colin's on his leash and a jogger goes by. And Colin eyed the jogger. I heard this little sound that I wasn't all that familiar with. It was sort of like a werewolf sound. And he lunged at the jogger's ankle. The jogger whirled around, aimed his finger at me, and said, "Someone's going to sue you!" And that's when I decided maybe Colin needed therapy.
Well, yeah.
And we gave him back. I was very sad when we gave him back. And then we had Lucky. Remember Lucky?
I remember Colin gnawing
At the door.
at the door when we
Yes.
had a party, and we didn't dare let him downstairs with the guests for fear that he
Yes.
would bite them.
Yes.
And when I went to let him out, he had gnawed away
Yeah.
at the edges of the door in an effort to get out. I mean, I never heard of such a thing.
Well, he was loyal. He loved us, and he wanted to be close to us and care for us.
Who's the us? It was you he wanted to be close to.
But we were pals.
Not us, me, you.
I remember the Redskins were having a great season that year, and I'd sit on the couch and I'd watch the Redskins, and he'd jump up in my lap, and it was wonderful. And we'd high-five each other. He'd stick his little paw up, and John Riggins scored a touchdown. It was so cool, really.
And then when somebody came over with their little child, and he would go after, looking towards this little child with this sound going on.
I think we have to let bygones be bygones, and people hold grudges throughout history.
I have no grudges.
People have still a grudge against Benedict Donald, and I mean, really.
Well, that's their problem.
I know it.
I don't have a grudge against Benedict Donald.
I tried to propose Benedict Donald Day, and nobody went for it.
Nobody went for it?
Nobody went for it.
What a pity.
They thought it was, really terrible. But at any rate,
Maybe he needs to be resurrected
there
in
are
some
these
way.
kennels that are on Route 9 and toward Westboro, these beautiful, preppy-looking kennels, and these dogs all read the paper. Though they look at the paper anyway.
I don't think that's what they do with the paper, dear.
You see newspaper around.
You see newspaper, but
I would assume they read the paper. They're Red Sox fans.
I don't think they read the paper, dear.
Probably want
I
to
think
know
they use
what
it
Paul
for other
Pierce
things.
is doing for the Celtics,
I think
They're
they want to
smart.
do it for other. I think they use it for other purposes.
But they really are more intelligent than they once were. They almost can speak. And I remember...
They don't have the right apparatus for speaking.
I remember.
I had a friend who had a dog that used to sing Happy Birthday with her.
Really?
Yes, she would play it on the piano.
Oh.
The dog would, I think it was a dachshund. The dog would hop up beside her, and she would start to play, and the dog would go, oh, 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 in time with the music.
Really? That's
Yep.
so touching. That is just so touching.
Yep, I think it was a dachshund.
You wouldn't let him sleep kind of curled up next to me?
No. People who lie down with dogs end up with fleas, for one thing.
Our dog would never
That's
have
another
fleas.
reason why I don't want a dog. It's very easy for them in the summertime. The fleas jump right up out of the grass onto the dog because they're so happy to find living flesh.
I'm talking about.
And then the next thing that happens is they jump on you, and you get great red welts all over your legs, the way we did once when someone came to visit and brought their dog, remember?
He was flea-ridden, yes.
And it was flea-ridden, and so were we after that.
Those were the old days. And those were a different kind of dogs. But today, they're well educated.
Honey, that doesn't, whether they're wonderful dogs or not, they can still get fleas.
They sell disinfectants now that smell like hickory and sweet aromas, aromatherapy.
What are disinfectants about?
They kill the fleas.
No, dear. You don't put disinfectants on a dog.
No, this is a shampoo. It's a different world. They have spas
Very difficult
for
to get
dogs.
rid of fleas.
They have spa treatments now for dogs. They get their nails manicured.
Oh, yes. And what do
Really?
you pay for that? I mean, are you prepared to budget another $500 a year for dog?
Well,
Minimum?
that's not too bad.
Minimum?
It's cheaper than what we'd have to pay if we were paying China off
That's
on
all.
our debt. you
Almost $50 a month.
know. That's pretty.
Could be more,
It's our buddy.
including the food and everything.
I pay more than that on you. Between your hair and acupuncture and the food and all that, it costs much more than that. This is a bargain. This is a bargain.
Maybe I should start charging you
For what?
for all these things that you.
Breakfast?
Oh yes, cooking and things of that nature. I'll earn my salary if that's the case.
Could I order what I'd like and you'd go procure
I
it?
mostly do.
Well, mostly.
I mostly do make exactly what you like.
Mostly. Mostly.
Yeah, what's the first thing I hear every morning when we wake up? What's for breakfast?
Well, there's nothing wrong in
That's the first thing I
it's
hear
a good
every morning.
holistic question.
What's for breakfast? And then I tell you, and you say, and what's for lunch?
It's nice to know which. Really.
Maybe I should be charging you for the cooking.
No, I wouldn't go that far if I
Oh,
were
you wouldn't, would you?
No. I wouldn't go that far at all if I were you. I just think that if we had a really fancy high-end dog, we'd have
Now
many
you want a
more.
fancy high-end dog.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
I don't want. We'd
A
have.
normal, ordinary dog is no use to you.
They're not brilliant.
How do you know?
They don't talk to you about the Red Sox, the political situation, movies they'd like to see on TV with us. But a high-end dog, Tasha, we would be invited to people's homes who have other high-end dogs. And they'd all be high-ender. It would really be nice. We'd have a new set of friends, dog people. And it would just be really, really nice to be included in a clique. Really.
So you want to own a dog so you can be part of a clique?
Well, I want us to own a dog so we can have a special friend who shares with us, who walks with us, and walk with you and talk with you.
Oh, no, that's not about dogs, dear.
It is. I thought it was a hint there about Rover. No. I just think it would be fun.
I think the whole thing goes all the way back to when you were a little kid and you had a dog and you loved it and your mother made you get rid of it.
My mother didn't make me get rid of it. My mother made it disappear.
Well, that was even
There's
worse.
quite a difference between getting rid of it. Rusty was a wonderful dachshund. He was temperamental. And unfortunately, he liked to poo on my mother's kitchen floor. Not on her rugs.
Well,
if he'd
that
pooed on her rugs, but on her kitchen floor.
That was pretty pretty...
For the late 1940s, early 1950s, that was dramatic. And my mother just...
I mean, at least if he didn't poo on the rug, that was a good thing.
That was a good thing. He peed on the rug.
Oh, he peed on the rug?
But that was different.
Where did this dog come from?
Oh, a very high-end kennel in Rhode Island.
Ah.
And he was a champion dachshund.
Oh, all right. That's the problem.
Yeah.
The most intelligent dogs...
I wanted him to sleep with me, but they wouldn't let him sleep with me.
And so now, ever after, you have felt deprived.
Well, yeah,
you feel deprived because you don't have a dog.
You wouldn't want just something warm and cuddly.
I give you a lovely stuffed one, or even a pillow that looks like a dog.
No.
And then you can hug it all you want.
Not
and it won't smell, and it won't bark, and it won't poo any place.
Someone to talk about things with. You know, the stock market.
Me.
You don't care about a lot of the things that I'm
no,
interested
but neither
in.
will the dog.
Oh, he might.
Dogs
Or
care
she
about
might.
things like what they can smell.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about new advances in sanitation. But anyway, I just think it would be wonderful. I'd like you folks watching to send us letters and contact us. You can now see Domestic Tranquility on Facebook and YouTube. Those of you who have computers who would like to share our marital wisdom with your soon-to-be married kids and
Or friends.
Or friends. They learn a lot about matrimony.
From us?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe.
I guess it's a trade-off. I don't get a dog, but I get you.
Well, isn't that a good thing?
I think it's a wonderful
I mean,
thing.
aren't you happy to have me?
I'm very happy to have you.
In spite of the fact that I don't really want a dog?
But you're not interested in Jacoby Ellsbury, Tom Brady, Paul Pierce. I mean, I have these yearnings to talk about these things with someone.
Well, maybe you should put an ad in the paper and say you want to talk with somebody about these things, and maybe they will call you up and come over and have conversations.
They have IQ testing for dogs now, you know. Really, and I'd like a dog with an IQ around 160.
You would you?
Yeah. Someone bright.
Yeah.
Someone who can be on the computer. Someone who likes to wag his tail appropriately. Although I did read that tail wagging was not necessarily happiness.
It's not necessarily mean the dog is happy.
Right.
Sometimes it means the dog is about to growl at you or something, or you're invading the dog's territory.
Well, we would work that out. We'd have conflict resolution between men and dogs. They have special therapists.
Well, they do have dog therapists. It's true. Now,
wonderful.
if your mother could have taken the doggy to a dog therapist, maybe you'd still have had it.
I don't think they had dog therapists in those days. I don't
No,
think
they
they had
didn't.
therapists
They
in
probably
those days.
didn't.
Unless you went to Vienna and got hold of someone who worked with
Well,
Freud.
no, they had doctors. They had therapists.
What is it about you that always makes you want to release? And the little dog would wag its tail, you know, it would be fun. Anyway, I guess we're not going to do it, folks. I guess that's sort of it, you know. We can't breed them either. I thought we'd get a male and a female, and we'd have a little side thing of breeding schnockagoogoos or whatever they call them. No?
No breeding of dogs. No owning of dogs. No walking of dogs.
The Cockamamie Chihuahua is a wonderful breed.
No taking of dogs to the vet. No walking of dogs in the rain and the wind and the snow.
You know, you've seen those doggy diapers.
Tell you what, darling, when you want companionship, you just knock on our neighbor's door and you say, I would love to cuddle your dog. And see what happens.
They might have you arrested. Be careful. Oh, cuddling. I'm a married man.
Oh, yes, you are.
Yeah.
Very married.
So, anyway, get in touch with us. Tell us what you think. Maybe eventually Domestic Tranquility could have a live audience. I know our producer would love that. Our studio director would love that. Maybe 75, 100 people could come. Channel 11 would buy them all lunch, set them all up the way the big networks do, and we could have studio participation.
That's
Now,
right.
that would be
That's
wonderful.
right. That's right.
Anyway, come on back and see us. We're here.
Take good care.
We love you.
Bye for now.